Hello and welcome to the Rest Hold Wrestling channel with myself, Kieran, and of course Gareth, where we're going to be talking about the upcoming pay-per-view from NXT. It's NXT TakeOver. It's just labelled here NXT TakeOver 31, so we're going to roll with that.
Yeah, it's it's a bit of a weird name. I thought they were going to go with another gimmick because obviously they haven't got a city they can take over or anything. So I thought they were going to go with I mean, it's a bit early, even in the month of October, to be doing Halloween. But I thought they could have done something. Lots of people have been like, "Oh, Halloween Havoc." I don't know if they still own the rights to that, but I thought they were going to go with some gimmick, but then it's just 31, which is a bit strange. But I guess it doesn't really matter.
Bring this down a bit.
But yeah, there's 5 matches on the card. You've got to say it's from Takeover standards. It's an underwhelming card, even though there's a couple of matches on there which look really good. And the build to it, I don't think it's not been that long since the last Takeover. I can't think how long, but it's not more than 2 months, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a much shorter build than you usually have. So it's a really weird one. It doesn't feel like it's the Takeover weekend coming up, really, does it? Or I guess this will be released when it is the weekend. And it's on a Sunday. It's all wrong, basically, isn't it? It's all wrong.
Yeah, just to put some detail in what you said there, the latest takeover, which is of course 30 XXX, whatever you want to call it, August 22nd. That was so less than
way
2
under
months.
2 months. Yeah. So it's a weird one, but we do have 5 matches, and we'll jump straight into them with what's probably the least interesting. I don't know what's going to be on the pre-show. I haven't seen if they have announced anything, and it's not on what we're reading here now. So I don't know if there's going to be anything on the pre-show, but either way, the first match is for the Cruiserweight Championship, and it's Isaiah Swerve Scott versus Santos Escobar, which we've seen a couple of times, and Swerve always gets the win, but never for the title. And that's basically the extent of the story. He's beaten him, but every time the title's on the line, Santos Escobar basically cheats his way out. And so now I think this is their 3rd time they're doing this.
Okay.
And yeah, it's a weird one because I thought this was just going to be, when this was happening, I thought this was going to be like a TV defense kind of thing. I never really saw this on a takeover. And I don't know, maybe they just thought, throw it on because we haven't got anything else or something. I don't know if this was planned, but if it hasn't been built to particularly well. I pretty much laid out the story. Swerve's challenged for it before, but Santos Escobar cheats. I mean, there's not really too much to it. And Santos Escobar did promise that he didn't need to cheat to win. So, whatever that means. But, I mean, at least on the surface of things, they're 2 really good wrestlers, and the matches they've had before have been good. So it's not going to be a bad match. It's just a bit of a weird one for a takeover, really. But it is a weird takeover. So, yeah, what are your thoughts, Kieran?
Yeah, just from what you said, just a little precursor. I watch a little bit of NXT, but I'm not religious to it on a week-to-week basis. But I'm very familiar with these 2. It's kind of a weird thing, really, because it feels as if Santos Escobar hasn't really progressed since he's had the title whatsoever.
He hasn't.
And at the end of the day, a title can't make a guy. And it's easy to say this in retrospective, and I don't want to lay in too much in terms of negativity throughout this video, but it just feels as if he probably wasn't the right person to have that championship during that tournament. At the time, I was pulling for Kushida personally. So I'm always going to have that opinion, just because I think you need a really strong backbone for that division as a whole. I do find on that topic somewhat, I do find it interesting that Kushida's facing a heavyweight guy. I'm wondering if they are sort of second guessing themselves. Maybe they think Kushida's probably more up there in regards to North American Championship region. Who knows? I don't know. But in regards to this match, anyway, they need to, at least from the outside looking in, it just seems they need to really spice things up in a way. And if it's just Santos Escobar getting that win, it's very uninspired. But it's not by any means bad. Of course it's not. And I to be honest, right, I'm very much sure these guys can put on a really, really great match between the 2 of them. Swerve has come on leaps and bounds.
Yeah,
Since I say last saw him, I'd be speaking crap, like
since we
years ago when
first saw him.
since we first saw him.
Yeah,
But with that being said, is Swift Scott the ideal candidate to have that championship? I'm not too sure, but is Santos Escobar? He's fine for now. It's kind of I don't know. I just there's a lack of care
yeah,
personally, and that's not coming from a place of any sort of hate or anything regarding it. Both men, they're both talented in their respective rights. It's a very uninspired. You laid out the story there, plain
yeah,
English within a matter of seconds. And yes, the simple stories are quite often the best ones, but this is very much.
it's not.
The word that really shines here for me is uninspired. That's all.
Yeah, yeah,
It's even if you did a little bit of something, whatever that may be, there's a variety of things you could do. Then it would be good. By the way, I think Santos Escobar is probably the man to hold onto the title for the time being until they find someone who can. And it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of a weird one really as well,
mm,
considering the depth of that division is a bit lacking a little bit. Granted, they've got Jake Atlas. I'm not too sure if Atlas is out. No, he isn't. I don't think he
no,
is.
he's still there.
He's still going around. Just
Yeah,
to be honest,
so
I'm more looking forward to the bigger like a bigger match. You know, like someone
yeah,
because I mean, again, this is personal preference. If this was Santos Escobar versus taking on Kushida, I think that would be great. That would be
yeah. That's what I was going to kind of come on to. Was like, obviously we'll get to Kushida's match next, but in terms of the cruiserweight division, uh, they have loads. I mean, pretty much like NXT is pretty much a cruiserweight division, apart from a couple of bigger guys like Damian Priest. Like most of the top guys are cruiserweights. So it's weird. You could think of like Johnny Gargano could challenge, Tommaso Ciampa could challenge for it. Kushida, Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole, all of those would fit in the cruiserweight bracket.
bang on.
Roderick Strong, pretty much all of their like a lot of their top guys. And I feel like it could be something like in terms of what they do with that cruiserweight division, because it was in a really good space when it first came to NXT with Lio Rush and Angel Garza just having amazing matches every week, and whoever would have a match with them. And Jordan Devlin, obviously, all the speaking out stuff wasn't a thing at the time, but he was coming in and looked like he was going to be exciting. I don't want to see that now, obviously, for obvious reasons, but like it seemed like they were kind of building up a bit of a division, and then they called up Angel Garza. Obviously, a thing happened with Jordan Devlin. They let Lio Rush go for some reason. I still don't really know why. I think they just figured out they didn't like him backstage and just decided to let him go. And then they had Kushida in that tournament, and then he didn't win, and now he's gone. It's just like they keep like taking everyone away from it, and it's like if you want to do something good with it, then do. I think whatever they're called, Santos Escobar's group, they're seeming pretty decent at the moment. They're not on TV every week or anything, but they put on good matches and stuff. And you could do a thing where they go for the tag team championships. They could win it because ultimately those tag team championships, aren't in a particularly good place at the moment. And if you had all those three with the gold, that could be quite an interesting thing. But yeah, I'd love to see Kushida get it and kind of define that division for like a year. I think it would be really cool, just having really good matches with everyone. But moving on to Kushida, he's got a match with Velveteen Dream, who again, with the whole speaking out stuff, it's not someone I particularly want to be seeing because it's someone I've seen pretty damning evidence against, especially. So it's not good. My one hope, literally all I've got to say on this is there's pretty much no story apart from they don't like each other. And it's a bit of a grudge match. Again, not really a takeover level kind of feud, at least, even though the match on paper, outside of the real life context, on paper is a takeover. The feud and the way that it's been built isn't. All I've really got to hope about this is that Kushida wins, because I hope they push him a bit, and I don't want to see Velveteen Dream on TV, personally, from a personal point of view. So, yeah, that's all I've really got to say on that. I just hope Kushida gets better treatment in the long run now.
Yeah, there's no question really. I think something that stands out, and I think this is the ideal moment to say, this card in particular is very much missing that multi-man sort of match. I think they could have
Yeah.
benefited from something like whether it be a tag match, a tag championship match, or whether it be a number one contenders for the North
Mm.
American Championship, where you've got the likes. Again, I yes, it's typical, but I mean, I'm looking at this card now, and they're all singles matches. Which, to be honest, I'm not complaining too big on. Like in
Yeah.
other companies, we like to see the singles matches more than the tags, the meaningless tags and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I think just for variety's sakes, and it's something that NXT is one of the best at in regards to
Mm.
6 to 8 man, something or other, just something to separate themselves. Because I don't know, Kushida versus Velveteen Dream seems like a very much like, sorry, my English is terrible. It seems like a NXT TV main event more so
Yeah.
than it does at, like, as leading on to what you were saying in regards, it doesn't feel like it's takeover worthy. Maybe I think you're coming at.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think in this spot they could have used with a multi-man match here. But in regards to what's in front of us here, Kushida versus Velveteen Dream, I'm always going to root for Kushida. I think it was one of the biggest injustices that NXT has put forward is they're not utilizing Kushida to his strengths. And I
Mm.
remember months and months back where he had a promo, and I think they did a similar thing the previous week, um, where it's just him and his family, and it's just, you just
Yeah.
get to know the guy and just how he's just a good old family man, and he's an absolute sweetheart of a guy, to be honest. And
Yeah.
he's just, you can't help but just root behind him. And so yeah, and I think against Velveteen Dream, they get they're gonna have a great match. There's no question about that. And I think that you can say that for the entirety of the card here. I don't want to, so I
Yeah.
don't have to say that continuously at each and every match. This is going to be a really great card for wrestling quality, I think.
Mm.
But in regards to actual what you're taking away from a storytelling point of view, that's to be debated. So
Yeah.
yeah, Kushida Velveteen Dream, somewhat meaningless. Could it be on the NXT TV? But I'd be rooting for Kushida on that end.
For sure. Yeah. All right. Moving on to a match for a championship that I'd like to see Kushida maybe being pushed towards if he isn't going for the cruiserweight. That being the North American Championship. I think that would be a good step for him to take. But for this takeover, it's the champion Damian Priest taking on Johnny Gargano, obviously with his wife also challenging for a title on this show, which we'll talk about next. There's the
Prophecy,
chance for
mate.
them both. Yeah, the chance for them both to leave with gold, which is something I would like to see both, because as much as there's definitely, we've spoken about this loads before, but there's definitely something in there, potential in there for Damian Priest that we would really like to see. It doesn't seem to be something they're ever going to really let unleashed, because every time we see it, everyone loves it. Like everyone loved the hot tub spot, you know, but then we didn't really get any more of that. It was just like, oh, I'm Damian Priest again. Oh, and then he said Rockstar on NXT, and I was just like, oh god, oh dear, the scripting. But yeah, there's definitely something from Damian Priest to be drawn out, but they're not doing it at the moment. I'm just not interested in him. I'd have no problems with Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae winning, but at the same time, I can't really look past the champion. So it's quite a hard one to predict. I'm sure it'll be a good match, as you'd expect from the two of them. But yeah, I just hope we get to see more of that Damian Priest character that we like. What about yourself?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel that, like, it's just my personal opinion, right? Like, I think there's more interest in this angle with Lorraine Gargano, with one of them achieving their dream and the other not. I think there's
Mm.
more to work with on that end because there's a conflict then, and
Yeah,
you can really work with that. You can really uh, experiment with, or you have just a variety of things. So the one that's speaking out to me personally is Lorraine hasn't had the title, and she
mm.
is like a really ideal candidate to take that championship forward. In regards to, she's really, like, she's improving her character bucket loads for the last few months. Because I remember, like, it was good to begin with when she did make that initial turn, but like she's
Mm.
come on leaps and bounds since that point. So credit to her on that
Yeah.
end. Io Shirai has been doing this for a while. I do get a sense of like a feeling when I saw this match. I was just like, Io Shirai is going to be in that limbo spot now, where I think she might be heading over to Raw, SmackDown, or something or other like that. I'm again.
Yeah.
I might be jumping to conclusions. Maybe it's way too soon. And we said this about Shayna Baszler, and we were all doing it on social media for like where I felt like 2 years. You know, oh, she's
Yeah.
going to win, she's going to win, and she just felt like she just never bloody did. But regardless, I think I'd be more interested in regards to, we may as well include them both, seeing as the story with NXT, it is about them both. They had a tag match recently and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Lorray winning and Gargano never being able to achieve, the Gargano way sort of side of things. I think I see that more interesting rather than them just both winning
Yeah.
and then they're just like, yeah, we told you so, and then it's like that's it.
Yeah.
And then they lose it, and then something happens. It's like, I don't know. I just personally, I just see more interest, and I would like to see Priest's character develop with that title. What we saw with that that segment that you talked about, it very much is on that sort of borderline of a little bit cocky, a bit really not exactly cocky, but confident.
Yeah.
He's
just having the time of his life.
He's just oozing confidence, and he's having the
Yeah.
time of his life, and all that sort of stuff. And that's just something that we want to see more of. And with the title around this race, you can really explore that rather than someone who feels like he's not achieving enough. He's there,
Yeah.
so explore that. And then on Gargano's end and Lorraine's end, it maybe explore that end of things as well. The fact that he's failing and his wife is achieving, and like, maybe there's conflict between them two. Then you can. Obviously, Gargano was one of the biggest babyfaces in the world, and like as much as he's doing a stellar job as a heel, I reckon him finding that confidence again, and like we're talking about a long drawn out story, and that's something that NXT needs to work on. I think they could really benefit from, because they don't have a really. I think something that they're really missing is a really, 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 really good babyface as a whole. I mean, you got Karen Cross isn't he's a heel and he's already out. You've got Finn Balor, who's like, he's not a clear-cut babyface. You can root behind him. He's very much in the center of things. Kyle O'Reilly's come out about, and he's very, he's somewhat on that babyface edge of things. And it seems like, according to rumors, that's what they're going with him and Adam Cole. And maybe that's what they're going to run with. Which, by all means, like Adam Cole, we haven't seen that from him since the very day he's entered. He's he's had some moments of being on the more babyface spectrum during a match or something, but we haven't really actually see him have a babyface run a few years in that character. So that would be interesting as well. But either way, talking about the matches in front of us, I don't know. I think Priest winning, them capitalizing on that little hint of character that we got. I mean, we talked about it loads of times on when we've come here, done a stream or something like that, all the time, and it's something that we're really missing. And Io Shirai, Candice LeRae, I think you've got a really good match between these two, and I think you've got a really good feud as well. So I'd be tempted to say maybe not LeRae not getting it here, but LeRae perhaps getting it later down the line with Io Shirai again, continuing that story. I think that's something I'd be interested in regarding them too, because of course they can absolutely ace a longer story, and I think that's something NXT can also benefit from. So, yeah, that's my take on it anyway.
Yeah, I definitely see that point of one of Johnny Gargano and Candice LeRae winning and the other one not. And I think if they were going to go that way, it would be Candice LeRae getting the win, obviously, because she hasn't had it before. And Gargano kind of seeing her on the level that he was once on, kind of obviously in the women's division, and he's in the men's. But I think also trying to think about matches moving forward, they're very much building Rhea Ripley, and they could build to a big match with Io Shirai. But from a story point of view, given that Rhea Ripley is very much like this badass babyface and Candice LeRae is like a chicken shit heel, there's a more WWE dynamic there with Candice LeRae as champion.
Yeah.
And potentially it's not a very long thing, because I think there's another takeover in December. I think it's the next one. So it could be a thing where she holds the title here. and then drops it. She's the one to drop it to Ripley, kind of a year on from her big moment after her supposedly year from hell, even though she had a match at WrestleMania, even though she didn't win and stuff. It's not quite a year from hell, but it's not how she envisioned it, I guess.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of thing I can see them kind of drawing a circle around. And Candice LeRae is kind of the champion to do that with. They could also easily do that with Io Shirai though as well.
Yeah.
Talking about Io Shirai on the main roster, I don't know about like long term, but obviously there's definitely a dream match there with Asuka, with them probably being the two best in-ring workers, maybe alongside with Charlotte in the company, if not the world. There's definitely an argument to say that. That would definitely be an incredible match, and something I could see them building for a bigger pay-per-view. They never did it with Kairi Sane, though, even though there was apparently a plan to do it. They never did, so I don't know if they actually would. But yeah, I think for the show, they're obviously going to be great matches. Moving forward, it's something where you could see a positive out of pretty much any result, so I guess that's a good thing. The stories heading in aren't really all that interesting, but potentially with Gargano and LeRae coming out the other side, there is something interesting to grasp onto. So we'll have to wait and see ultimately what happens in terms of that, but there is potential for some really good stuff there.
I think just another little thing just to add on top before we move on. There is a WWE draft happening starting from the 9th of October. That's where the inspiration with the Io Shirai thing came along,
Yeah.
So there's that to consider as well. But go ahead, man.
Yeah, I think that is a thing in it. If Gargano was to win, I wouldn't be surprised if they called up Damian Priest, because it's the kind of thing that they do. They called up Dijakovic recently, even though he's not had a particularly huge run. And he's definitely someone I could see Vince looking at and be like, I like him. He's good looking. He is cocky. He has some cool moves. He's big, all that kind of stuff. Definitely a Vince kind of guy. So I could see them doing that. But yeah, it will be interesting as well with that draft, how they incorporate NXT, because we haven't really seen that before. We've seen call-ups, obviously, but then it could be interesting with who comes. So, and then also there's that thing of the person who's going to be returning on this show. The person who said these championships have been left for a while. So I don't know. I've seen lots of theories about, like, obviously Bo Dallas. It's not Bo Dallas. I've seen a lot of people saying Ember Moon. On the most recent NXT, it very much looked like it was a woman. But then on the first clip, it showed 2 championships and said these championships. So I don't know if it's Karrion Kross and what's her name, Scarlett, and then they could kind of say, push Scarlett in for a championship run, because obviously she is a wrestler as well, and they could return and maybe just destroy the 2 champions. I don't know. We only seen one person kind of in that little clip, but it could be very much like a thing of where they're kind of teasing it. Obviously, I have no idea whether that's possible, because we have no idea what Karrion Kross's injury thing is like. But do you have any ideas of who that could be? Because, I just don't.
I'll be honest, I don't have a single clue.
I hope.
My hope is that it's someone that's different to everything that they have.
Yeah.
But other than that, man, I don't know. Ember Moon is, I don't know, it's kind of a weird one for me. Like, during her time within NXT, it was great, and she was the best of a lackluster roster at that very time, where it was, at least from memory, it was Ember Moon, it was Shayna, and I know it was Asuka. It was I think it was Asuka.
She was like the best of the rest.
Yeah,
underneath Asuka, wasn't she?
Yeah, and
you had like Nikki Cross and the Iconics when they were singles wrestlers. People like that, like a lot of kind of people who were still developing, and she was kind of the one who stood out among those.
And and she never got. I don't know. In NXT, she never really got the job done until Asuka inevitably left NXT. So it's kind of a weird with me. It's not one I'm particularly interested in personally. I don't think she really would add a lot, considering they've got a whole lot of really talented women right there now, and I'd rather they'd use them.
Yeah.
If it is a woman. So I don't know. I'm kind of personally hoping it's maybe maybe a cruiserweight. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something to add depth where it needs it, or a tag team. I don't know. Considering there were two titles, I don't know.
It could be something like Ricochet coming back and then going into that cruiserweight division. That would be really cool, I think, considering he's doing basically nothing elsewhere.
Yeah. So it's an interesting one. I can't give you anything because I couldn't give you a prediction because
Yeah. To be
there's
think, I think
such
everyone's kind of making it up for their
yeah.
kind of predictions or their hopes or whatever. Like, no, there's not really anything properly to grasp onto. So
No, exactly. So I generally couldn't, as much as it's I'm avoiding the question in a way. The reality is that they've done a good well in keeping it a mystery, but
yeah,
and to be fair, I do respect them, and I do prefer that. That's the whole point of a mystery; it keeps you guessing,
yeah,
rather than you immediately know. Like with Retribution, like it was pretty obvious what things were, like
yeah,
who are these people? It's like no, we can tell. So yeah, I don't know, but I like that I don't know, and I do hope that it ultimately benefits a division within. I hope you'd
yeah,
hope if it's just another men's wrestler who's a heel and he goes and all that sort of stuff. I'll be so done. I'll just be so
yeah,
done. It's I don't have my hopes up considering the packages that we have seen. They're very serious. They're very dark. They're very. I want to say
yeah,
hacker-esque. I want to say like I don't know. It was kind of weird you couldn't pinpoint with all the lights and stuff or whatever like that. So
yeah,
we'll just have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. That's what we can do.
yeah. But we'll move on now to the main event of the show, or what we I guess presume will be the main event is the NXT Championship match between Kyle O'Reilly and Finn Balor.
Finn Balor.
And this is again something which hasn't had a lot of build. A couple of weeks ago, Kyle O'Reilly won that whatever match they called it, big elimination thing,
The
where there were
Gauntlet
loads of guys.
Eliminator, my boy. Gauntlet Eliminator.
That's it, yeah. And Kyle O'Reilly won that, which I was really happy with. These are probably, I don't know. These are definitely two of my favorite NXT wrestlers. I was going to say these are probably my two favorite in NXT, but I don't know. I haven't quite decided that. But obviously, love Finn Balor, and I've loved everything he's done for the last year in NXT. Even though sometimes his booking's not been good, he's just so good that he kind of carries it anyway. And Kyle O'Reilly is someone I've wanted to have a singles run for ages now. Having gone back and seen some of his stuff in New Japan and watched his matches with like Adam Cole and stuff in Ring of Honor, it's just something I really, really want to see in NXT. So it's really exciting to see this happen and stuff. I wish there was a bit more of a build or a little bit more of. I don't know if it's a one-off match for Kyle O'Reilly, in which case it would be better than nothing. But um, my hope, one of my hopes, I kind of again kind of torn on this because I don't want Finn Balor to lose on his first defense. They said that in the little segment, like Kyle O'Reilly kind of smiled and went, "No one loses on their first defense." And I was like, "Oh, is that a little thing?" Because I think Kyle O'Reilly would be the perfect guy to basically be destroyed by, especially if you keep pushing him as a babyface. Perfect guy to be destroyed by Karrion Kross on his return, and that's kind of what I'm hoping for. And I think it would be a really interesting dynamic for the Undisputed Era moving forward. And I'm hoping that it's more blind faith than any faith that they've earned. But I have faith that they're going to tell whatever this story is with Undisputed Era. They're going to tell it well. That's not based on anything, as I said. It's more blind faith, but I'm hoping, and it could be something that's very interesting, as well as a loss could be as well. Especially with the fact that Undisputed Era have kind of failed to win any of the titles they've gone up for recently. I'm sure it would be an amazing match. I can't really call it or exactly what's going to happen. I think Finn Balor probably will end up winning because ultimately he's the biggest star and don't want him to lose immediately. I definitely wouldn't mind if they just gave it to Kyle O'Reilly and ran from there with a story-based thing. What about yourself?
I am of the opinion that I'm excited. I'm excited for this match purely because I saw that promo that you 100% told me that I need to watch. I absolutely need to watch this for Takeover. Everything else, you can if you got the time, but this you need to watch
There's literally
this.
nothing else that matters in the build-up apart from that.
And that in itself was absolutely fantastic. I like the Shawn Michaels took a back seat, because just the little things, but obviously the guys themselves, they did extremely well, including Kyle, of course, because we don't see
Yeah,
enough of Kyle. But I have a lot of excitement for this purely because it gives me the sense that they know where they're going. If that makes any sense, they
yeah,
have a vision. They have.
yeah,
It seems like it has a bit of direction. They haven't just ran with something for the sake of running with it because there's two guys that will sell something. It's like, no, they're going to run with Kyle O'Reilly because there's probably a bigger story laid ahead,
yeah,
wherever that may be. And I'm excited for that because that's something that NXT really, 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 really needs.
yeah,
you know. So the match is going to be fantastic. There's absolutely no questions about it. I would absolutely adore to see Kyle O'Reilly win, but Kyle O'Reilly very much comes across like he's very much a face, all that sort of good stuff, and he's going to be excellent as a face as well. He's going to be the
yeah,
funniest guy on the roster. He's going to be absolutely brilliant if they really, really let him shine in that role. And I think with him, it's going to be all about that journey. It's going to be all
yeah,
about that that initial fall and never be, and taking that long journey ahead and eventually getting the title if they were ever envisioning that. For all we know, we could be just bigging this up and then they're just doing this with something else completely in mind, completely
yeah,
different in mind. But yeah, I just think they've come up with a match here that none of us would have expected. I think there's a bit of direction going forward and we don't know exactly what's going on, and I'm excited for that. I'm excited.
yeah,
This is the most excited I've been for NXT in a long while. And it's not because of the two guys involved. Because I really like Finn Balor. I really like him, but he's not my favourite. And I really like Kyle
yeah,
O'Reilly. He's probably one of the funniest guys in wrestling. But he's not my favourite. But the
yeah,
dynamic of what they put in front of us, I can understand Finn being in the main event. But Kyle O'Reilly being in the main event, that's a strange one. Where are they going with that? That creates intrigue for me. And the whole
yeah,
Undisputed Era thing, which they obviously addressed within the interview with Shawn hosting, there's that to take into consideration as well. We've heard a bit of rumors, not going to talk about because I don't want to spoil anything.
yeah,
So I'm pure. Everything else is great, and you're Sheree Lorray. I'm really looking forward to Priest and Gargano. Is all of these other stuff. It's going to be great, but this is the
mm,
match for me that
yeah,
I'm so interested to see where they go with it. I
yeah.
that's
I
it.
think most people are the same as that. And like you say, we don't know exactly where they're going with it, and that's kind of the exciting thing because you don't want to just sit there and be like, well, obviously now, blah 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 happens with the Undisputed Era, and
But it's
Finn
like
Balor's
beyond
going to
the
go and do
result.
blah
If
blah
you
blah.
get me, it's
Yeah,
not. It's
yeah,
it's not.
exactly.
It's not about someone gaining a championship and there we are. It's just like no. It feels like there's something bigger on
Yeah,
the other side, and I'm excited for that. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And like you say, it feels like they've got a plan. How far in advance that plan is, like it could be in a year's time, we're looking at Kyle O'Reilly versus Adam Cole for the NXT Championship in a space where Kyle O'Reilly actually feels like he belongs there rather than kind of this being the biggest match of his career because he's already had that match, lost it, but this time around it feels like it's his time or something like that. There could be a year-long story, maybe longer in it like that. And ultimately, it is that thing that's the power of like kind of the unknown. We could sit here and fantasy book for days, but that's the main draw for this NXT. And even with the matches like Gargano and Candice LeRae, again, we're talking about what could happen afterwards rather than what's been building up. We're trying to book things off the end of it rather than going in. And in a way, that kind of sets up NXT for a more exciting place moving forward. Again, they might just do everything wrong and mess it all up, and then it'll be in a boring place again. But it has been in a bit of a weird place, NXT. for a little while now, and this kind of takeover kind of gives me the hope that I'll leave it more excited for NXT than I have been in a good long while. So yeah, it should be a good show again in terms of the matches, almost certainly, but in terms of something we might look back on and say that it laid the groundwork for certain things, could be really, really good.
It absolutely could kill it. And that is NXT TakeOver 31. We've discussed it in length here. And we would absolutely like to hear your thoughts in regards to NXT TakeOver. What are you looking forward to? What criticisms do you have? Like, what match do you reckon is going to be match of the night? All this variety of things. Let us know in the comments, wherever that may be. And yeah, that's us. We're going to tune out here. Thank you very much for joining us. And we'll be seeing you soon. Take care.
Goodbye.